Beloved child, before you look at the things being shaken around you, allow me to place peace in the deepest part of your heart. Not every trembling is a sign of loss. Sometimes it is the sound of an old door closing so that a holier path may be opened. You are passing through a sacred threshold, a place where the things I have quietly prepared are beginning to find their way into your life. Therefore, do not let anxiety misinterpret what I am doing. When you feel the pressure increasing, when doubtful thoughts begin to whisper that you are not worthy, not strong enough, or that you have taken the wrong path, remember my word. Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God, as written in Isaiah 41:10. I did not call you near the threshold, only to abandon you there. I did not plant hope in your heart, only to let darkness steal the harvest. My hand is still covering you, not only to protect you from evil, but also to keep you standing in the right place when goodness comes. There are blessings that do not arrive with great noise, but through quiet arrangement. You may not yet see everything with your natural eyes, but in the spiritual realm, the pieces are being drawn together. Meetings that seem accidental, ideas that suddenly light up within your heart, gentle reminders that make you want to pray more, trust more deeply, and walk more purely. All of these are signs that I am guiding you. The steps of a righteous man are ordered by the Lord, as in Psalm 23. This means that even when you think you are moving slowly, I am still leading you at the right rhythm. Do not despise small movements. When a seed cracks open beneath the soil, it does so very quietly. Yet from that silence, a tree can rise beneath the sunlight. You are the same. What I have planted within you has not died. It is being awakened by my appointed season. But you need to understand this with wisdom. The adversary often comes closest when your spirit is about to step into expansion. He has no authority to rewrite your destiny, but he seeks to make you let go of the promise through fear, wariness, and doubt. He wants you to misunderstand testing as proof that I have left you, when in truth, right in the midst of that testing, I am making your faith shine brighter than gold refined in the fire. Resist the devil and he will flee from you, as in James 4:7, is not a word for the hopelessly weak, but a word of empowerment for those who know they belong to me. You do not need to battle in panic. You only need to stand firm in the truth. Keep your mouth from complaint. Guard your heart from bitterness, and let your confession come into agreement with what I have spoken. Remember the story of Israel in the wilderness, when Balak was afraid of their presence and hired Balaam to curse them. Do you see? There are people and forces that may want to use words, jealousy, or hidden schemes to weaken what I have placed upon your life. But when Balaam opened his mouth, what was meant to be a curse was turned by me into a blessing. Because no one can reverse what I have decided to protect, Balaam had to say, "How can I curse whom God has not cursed?" As written in Numbers 23:8, beloved child, that story does not belong only to the past. It is a reminder for you today that what has been placed under my covenant cannot be destroyed by the schemes of darkness. You may not know who is standing against you, and you may not see all the invisible battles, but I see them, and I have gone before you. Therefore, do not be quick to fear when you see your heart being tested. There are winds that do not come to uproot the tree, but to make its roots cling more deeply to the soil. I am causing the roots of your faith to go deeper, so that when greater blessings come, you will not be swept away by pride, haste, or a lack of discernment. What I give you does not only require hands ready to receive, it requires a heart mature enough to hold it. You have prayed for a way to be opened, but I also want to give you steadfastness. You have longed for a door, but I also want to teach you to walk through that door with the peace of one who knows the Father is walking with them. No weapon formed against you shall prosper, as in Isaiah 54:17. But you must also learn not to forge weapons against yourself through words of self-condemnation, negative thoughts, or doubt in my love. Now let your mouth speak what agrees with heaven. Do not declare defeat when I am preparing and unfolding. Do not call yourself forgotten when I am arranging for you to be remembered at the right time. Do not say that everything is too late when my timing has never been late. Speak with humility yet full of faith, saying, I am being preserved. I am being guided. I am being prepared for the goodness the Father has already set apart for me. Not because you can control everything, but because you belong to the one who holds all things. If God is for us, who can be against us? As in Romans 8:31, you do not need to see the entire road before you dare to take a step. You only need to hold my hand today, and today will open enough light for the next step. My child, the new season is not only a reward, it is also an invitation for you to live closer to me. True blessing does not pull you away from my presence, but causes you to bow even lower in gratitude, to become softer in love, and to grow wiser in your choices. When provision begins to flow, keep your heart pure. When the door opens, step through it with holy reverence. When others do not understand your journey, let peace answer on your behalf. I am covering you with a protection that is gentle yet strong, like the wings of an eagle shielding its young from the scorching sun and fierce storms. Rest in me, for the goodness that is coming is not the result of chance, but of what my hand has ordained. And when you cross the threshold, you will understand that every trial did not come in the end to steal the promise, but to prove that the promise had already been sealed by me beforehand in my unchanging love. Beloved child, what I want you to engrave upon your heart first is not the way the blessing will come, but the posture of your heart as you stand before the new season. There are doors that do not open through pressure, anxiety, or the effort to prove yourself worthy. They open when your lips know how to speak in agreement with faith, when your hands know how to do small things with faithfulness, and when your soul is no longer locked shut by fear. I have placed a gentle power in your mouth, not the power to boast, but the power to come into agreement with what I am speaking. Life and death are in the power of the tongue, as in Proverbs 18:21. Therefore, Do not let your lips become a place where seeds of disappointment are sown, while I am preparing for you a field heavy with fruit. Speak with humility that you are being guided. You are being provided for, and a way is being opened for you, because words placed in faith will become a bridge for your heart to step into what heaven has appointed. Not every sign from me comes in a grand form that makes the whole world pay attention. Many times I come to you through a very gentle prompting, through an idea that suddenly lights up in the middle of an ordinary day, through a hope that seems to come from nowhere, yet quietly lifts you to your feet again. You may think it is only a passing emotion, but I tell you that some very small movements are the first bells of a fruitful season. When I prepare to bring you into a new land, I often awaken within you a holy sensitivity, so that you will not walk like someone blind in the midst of grace. Your ears shall hear a word behind you, saying, "This is the way, walk in it." As in Isaiah 30:21, that voice does not always roar like thunder, but it is clear enough for a soul that knows how to be still and trust. Therefore, keep your heart tender, and do not be quick to dismiss the pure reminders that are stirring you to live better. Pray more deeply, forgive more quickly, and choose what is right. Beloved child, when you stand near the threshold of a new season, what I want you to guard is not only your eyes, so you can see the signs, but your heart, so you can understand those signs rightly. There are trials that appear not to announce that you have been abandoned, but to show you that you have been refined to the point where you can go farther. The adversary often tries to confuse you just before dawn breaks, because he knows that a soul that has learned to stay awake will no longer be easily pulled back into the old night. Therefore, when voices of doubt arise, do not be quick to accept them as truth. Let my word become louder than every noise. God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. As in Psalms, if I was with you in trouble, then I am even nearer to you, as your new day begins to open. You do not need to tremble before pressure. You only need to recognize that such pressure stands outside the boundary of the covenant. While you are hidden in the palm of my hand, there are things I first do in the secret place before they appear in your life. A seed does not ask the soil for permission to sprout. It simply splits open quietly when the right season comes. In the same way, there are movements within you of faith suddenly shining again. A gentle gratitude rising up, an urging to live more uprightly, a sense of peace that does not depend on circumstances. All of these are traces of what I am doing. Do not despise the things that do not yet have a clear form, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, though it delays. Wait for it, because it will surely come. That word does not teach you to wait in helplessness, but to wait in watchfulness. The watchful do not sit in fear. They cleanse their hearts, adjust their words, correct their direction, and let peace stand guard at the door of their minds. I want you to learn to distinguish between the alarm of fear and the bell of heaven. Fear makes you shrink back, makes you doubt my goodness, and makes everything ahead look like a threat. But my bell, no matter how strong it may be, still carries holiness, hope, and light. It may awaken you, but it will not crush you. It may urge you forward, but it will not push you into chaos. When you sense something within you calling you to step out of old patterns, bring it before me in prayer, for the peace of Christ rules in your hearts, as in Colossians 3:15. That peace will help you know what comes from me and what is only darkness disguised as urgency. I do not lead you by panic. I lead you by clarity covered in love, and when you have not yet seen the outside world change, do not hastily conclude that the promise is standing still. There are seasons when I work more beneath the surface than above it. Roots go downward before branches rise upward. Your heart is the same. It must be deeply rooted in faith before it can carry the greater branches of blessing. Keep your lips pure, for your words are the place where seeds are released each day. Do not speak like someone defined by failure. Speak like one who is loved, kept, guided, and prepared. The mouth of the righteous is a fountain of life, as in Proverbs 10:111. Therefore let your mouth become a stream, not a dry well of complaint. Every word of thanksgiving you speak before seeing the result is a beautiful act of faith before me. Every time you choose trust instead of worry, you are placing your feet closer to what I have promised. Beloved child, I also want you to remember the story of Elisha's servant at Dothan. When the enemy army surrounded the city, the servant's eyes saw only danger, only chariots and troops standing against him, and his heart trembled. But Elisha did not panic. He prayed, "O Lord, open his eyes so that he may see as written in 2 Kings 60:17. And when the servant's eyes were opened, he saw that the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. Do you see? The outward circumstance did not immediately change in that moment, but the inward vision was renewed. What once frightened him suddenly became small before my protection. This is what I am doing with you. I am not only changing the situation, I am also opening your spiritual eyes, so you may recognize that you are not surrounded by failure. You are being covered by my presence. Therefore, do not let the tempter take the right to interpret the signals I send to you. He will try to make you think that delay means rejection. That testing is a sign you are unworthy. That silence is proof. I have gone far away, but I tell you, there are silences that are the cradle of miracles, waiting seasons that are the room where faith grows and battles that exist only to reveal that the grace within you is stronger than the fear before you. In all these things we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. As in Romans 8:37, you do not overcome because there is no opposition. You overcome because opposition cannot separate you from my love. What I have blessed, darkness cannot curse. What I have opened, no one has the right to close before my appointed time. Now step into the new day with gratitude, like a cloak covering your soul. Prepare like a farmer who looks at the clouds and knows the rainy season is coming. He does not only rejoice, he also repairs the furrows, clears away the stones, prepares the seed and guards his field. You also must reorder your mind, release words of self-condemnation. Leave the atmosphere that dries you out and choose to draw near to the things that nourish faith and purity. I do not want you to enter a season of abundance with a heart full of confusion. I want you to receive with the gentleness of one who has learned to trust. Do not fear, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. As in Luke 12:32, you do not have to strive for what I give. You only need to open your heart, hold fast to faith, speak words of life, and follow me with gentle obedience. Then you will realize that the signals of today are not scattered at all. The gentle breeze, the deep bell, the prompting within your hearts, the unexpected peace in the middle of circumstances that have not yet changed. The gratitude rising before, there is clear evidence. All of these are the first rays of light before dawn. I am teaching you not only to wait for the blessing, but also to become someone who can recognize, preserve, and distribute that blessing with a mature heart. Smile at the things that once made you afraid, because you now know your Father is near. Stand firm before testing, because you now understand that the trial is only a step, not a wall. Give thanks before your hands touch the result, because the most beautiful faith is the faith that knows how to bow and worship when the new dawn has only just begun to break. I am going before you, beloved child, and the radiance that is coming is not a coincidence of fate, but my faithfulness blooming in its proper season upon your life. Beloved child, when contrary winds begin to rise around you, do not quickly conclude that you are being pushed backward. There are winds I allow to pass through your life, not to break your wings, but to teach you that you have been given strength to fly higher. What confuses you is not always a sign of failure. Many times, it is the sound of a great threshold beginning to move. The tempter often does not come when everything is still far away, but when the promise has come close enough for your spirit to begin sensing it. He wants you to misunderstand pressure. He wants you to think opposition is proof that I have left you. But I tell you, do not fear, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by your name. You are mine. As in Isaiah 43:1, if you belong to me, then no pressure has the right to define you, and no darkness has the right to rewrite the portion I have prepared for you. I want you to look at testing with eyes cleansed from fear. Pressure is not a throne ruling over you. It is only a scale revealing the true weight of the faith within you. Gold does not lose its value when it passes through fire. On the contrary, the fire only reveals the purity hidden within it. In the same way, the situations that make you feel as though you can hardly endure are causing the things I quietly forged within you through many silent seasons to shine. The testing of your faith produces patience, as in James 1:3. Therefore, do not hate every test that comes to you. There are tests that do not come to eliminate you, but to prove that you are ready for something greater. When you still choose to believe while your heart is being pulled toward worry, heaven sees a precious maturity being formed within you. There will be times when you feel as though everything is demanding your courage, at once the words of others, the delays, the unclear signs, and the questions that keep circling in your mind. But my child, do not let that pressure make you lose the breath of peace. Remember that the tempter cannot take what I have placed under covenant unless you yourself let go of trust. Please know that every seed you plant in this mission will grow into a torch that shines in someone else's darkness. Giving to this work through the link in the description or the pinned comment, whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our Ko-Fi community, does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. Heaven moves through willing voices, but it grows through hearts that are kind. This is what I say over you now. Each gift you give is like a stream of living water that flows into the life of someone who needs healing. Give, and it will be given to you is not just a verse for Jesus. It is a living promise that shapes your future. Allow me to invite you now with a simple act of faith. Come into this moment with purpose, with honesty, and with hope. The money you give today is not a donation. The act of spiritual obedience that lets your heavens open is what opens them. Let go of your seed and see what God brings back into your life. He can only make noise around the door. He does not have the key to lock what I have opened. I have set before you an open door, and no one can shut it, as in Revelation 3:8. Therefore, instead of trembling before the noise, let your heart stand still in my word. The door that belongs to me will not be closed by darkness. What you need is not to leave the position of faith. Let me remind you of Jehoshaphat, the king who stood before an army so vast that human hearts could have melted with fear. He did not pretend to be stronger than the circumstance, but he turned his face to seek me. And all the people stood before me with their wives, their little children, and their trembling hearts that still knew how to depend on me. Then my word came to them. This battle is not yours but God's, as in 2 Chronicles 20:15. Do you see? The miracle did not begin with the sound of swords, but with a people who knew how to fix their eyes on me. And even more wonderfully, they were not first sent out with weapons, but with singing and praise. As they praised, I threw the enemy into confusion. What should have become a disaster was turned into victory, and spoil gathered for many days. That is how I can turn pressure into treasure, transforming the place where you thought you would be surrounded into the very place where you behold my faithfulness. Some of the greatest battles of your life do not sound like thunder, nor do they leave visible traces before the eyes of others. Yet they take place in the hidden room of the soul. It is there that you lay down your own plans, your unanswered questions, and the urges that make you want to move faster than the time I have appointed. Do not underestimate the seasons that seem to have no movement. For in that silence, I am doing things that natural eyes cannot yet perceive. A seed lying beneath the earth is not being buried in vain. It is being covered, nourished, and prepared so that one day it may rise from the dark soil and reach toward the light. You are the same. There are times when I hide you in stillness, not to make you disappear, but so that the life within you may grow in the right way. Be still and know that I am God. as in Psalm 46:10, that stillness is not emptiness, but the place where you learn to recognize that my power does not need noise in order to move. I know there are times when you think that if everything has not yet opened, perhaps you have been forgotten. But my child, a slowing down in my hands is never abandonment. Sometimes I delay what you desire, because I am building within you a foundation you do not yet realize you need, but will greatly need when the blessing comes. If a door opens too soon, it may cause you to enter with haste instead of wisdom. If a gift is given before your heart is steady enough, it may become a burden instead of a joy. Therefore, I train you through time, through waiting, through the days when you must believe without yet seeing. Those who wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. As in Isaiah 41:31, that renewed strength does not always come before you wait. Many times it is born right in the waiting. Remember Simeon in the temple, the one who lived for many years under a quiet promise that he would not see death before he had seen the Lord's Christ. Outwardly his life may have looked very ordinary, day after day, waiting in worship and watchfulness. But inwardly my promise still burned like a lamp that would not go out. Then on the appointed day, not by chance, the Holy Spirit led him into the temple, and he held the child Jesus in his arms. The words in Luke 229:30 resound like the satisfied sigh of a faithful life. Lord, now let your servant depart in peace, for my eyes have seen your salvation. Do you see, Simeon's waiting was not wasted. The quiet years made the moment of fulfillment even more holy. You are the same. There are things I am preparing that will not come early according to your impatience, but will come at the right time according to my faithfulness. In the quiet place you are walking through, I am not only preparing the circumstances, I am refining your ability to hear. Not every voice that urges you forward comes from me. There are invitations that shine on the outside, but lead you away from peace. There are doors that look wide open, but do not carry the fragrance of grace. There are opportunities that make you feel more important, yet pull you away from obedience. I want you to learn to distinguish my voice from the voice of haste. My voice may correct you, but it will not shatter you in shame. My voice may call you to move forward, but it will not push you into chaos. My sheep hear my voice and I know them, and they follow me. As in John 10:27, the closer you remain to me, the more clearly you will recognize what is true guidance and what is merely noise disguised as opportunity. There are also things I am gently separating from you in this season. Not because I want to take away your joy, but because there are burdens that cannot go with you into the new land. A vessel must be cleansed before it can be filled. A field must be cleared of stones before the season of sowing. One who is sent must learn to release the things that make their steps heavy. Therefore, if there is any relationship, habit, thought, or fear that is gradually losing its control over you, do not grieve over what I am freeing you from. Let us lay aside every weight and the sin that so easily entangles us, and let us run with endurance the race set before us, as in Hebrews 12:1. You cannot run lightly, while still holding tightly to things whose season has ended. I do not prune you to make you empty. I prune you so that you may bear more fruit. My child, when the appointed time opens, you will look back and understand that not one day of waiting was wasted. Not one tear was forgotten by me, and not one time you chose to trust in silence was meaningless. The foundation stones of today may lie hidden beneath the ground, but tomorrow they will keep the house of your blessing from being shaken. A vessel being fired in the furnace does not fully understand the reason for the heat, but when it becomes strong enough to hold precious oil, it will know that the fire was not its enemy, but part of its completion. You are the same. I am making you steadier, deeper, and brighter, so that what I give will not merely come to you and stop there, but will flow through you like a healing stream to others. Rest in my preparation. Keep walking in faithful stillness and believe that when the door opens, you will not enter as someone who happened to be fortunate, but as one whom I have taught, preserved and made ready for a long time in my unchanging love. Beloved child, in the days when everything seems to stand still, I am not silent in the way you think. I am bringing you back to holy memories, to the moments when you once thought you would not make it through. Yet my hand opened a way where you could only see a wall of stone. I want you to remember, not so you can live in the past, but so you can gather evidence for today's faith. There were times when you cried in the secret place, and yet the next morning you still had strength to stand. There were seasons when you thought hope had gone out, but a small ray of light was still kept by me within your heart. There were doors that closed and wounded you, but later you understood that they were fences of protection. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning, as in Lamentations 3:7-2-23. Therefore, when the present makes you unsteady, let the memory of my faithfulness become the stone of support beneath your feet. It is in that quiet place that I am forming in you a kind of peace that does not depend on applause, good news, investments, or clear outward signs. That peace is born when you learn to sit still before me, without forcing every answer to appear immediately. It grows when you no longer see waiting as punishment, but as a room of preparation. Understand this. I do not only want to bless you, I want to make you steady enough to hold the blessing without losing your tenderness, discerning enough to distinguish what comes from me from what is only attractive for a moment, and spacious enough in heart that when you are filled, you also know how to pour out for others. I will remember the works of the Lord. Surely I will remember your wonders of old. When you remember rightly, you will believe rightly. And when you believe rightly, your heart will become a spacious place for me to move. Then from that quiet place, I begin to teach you about a key that many people hold in their hands without recognizing its value: the words upon your lips. Words are not merely breath passing through the throat, nor are they only sounds for others to hear. Words are the agreement of your soul with a certain reality. When you keep repeating fear, You allow fear to pitch its tent in your mind. When you keep calling yourself a failure, you unknowingly sow seeds that dry up the field within you. But when you speak according to my truth, even before circumstances have had time to change, you are drawing your heart back beneath the light. By your words, you will be justified, and by your words, you will be condemned, as in Matthew 12:37. Not because I want you to live under the pressure of fearing every wrong word, but because I want you to understand that the mouth is the doorway through which faith goes out, and it can also become the doorway through which confusion enters if you do not guard it. Look back to the beginning, when darkness covered the deep, and everything had not yet taken clear form. I did not create through complaint, nor did I call forth light through doubt. I spoke, and what I spoke opened the way for what I desired to reveal. When I said, "Let there be light," light appeared not because darkness agreed, but because my word carried authority over darkness. You were created in my image, so your words are not meaningless. Of course, you are not the creator, but you are invited to walk in communion with me, so that your lips will not resist what I am building. When you speak thanksgiving in the midst of lack, you are not denying your need. You are declaring that your source is greater than your circumstance. When you speak trust in the midst of uncertainty, you are not pretending everything is easy. You are placing your soul under my rule. That is why the tempter often targets your words. He wants you to be silent when you need to confess what is good. And he wants you to speak when your heart is full of bitterness. He knows that a weary heart can unknowingly sow sentences against its own harvest. Therefore, guard your mouth, not with rigidity, but with gentle watchfulness. Before you speak, ask your heart, is this word opening the door to peace, or opening the door to fear? Is this word cooperating with the promise, or cooperating with darkness? The tongue is a small member, yet it boasts of great things. As in James 3:5, a small rudder can turn the direction of a ship, and a small word can also turn the direction of your mind. Do not use your lips to rebuild prisons that I have already broken. Use your lips to open windows for the light to come in. I want you to remember the story of Ezekiel in the valley of dry bones. Before his eyes was not a garden full of promise, but a scene of exhaustion, separation, and barrenness. Something that seemed to have no possibility of living again. Yet I did not tell him to weep over the dry bones, nor did I tell him to call them hopeless. I commanded him to prophesy over those bones. When the word was spoken according to my command, bone came together with bone. Sinews and flesh covered them. Then breath entered, and a living army stood up, as it is written in Ezekiel 37. Do you see? A word placed under obedience can call life into a place that seems to hold only ruins. This does not teach you to speak carelessly, according to your own will, but to place your words within the flow of my word. When you look at a dry situation, do not be quick to call it the end. Ask me what I want you to speak over that place. Then speak with faith, with humility, and with obedience. From today on, let your words and your actions move together like two streams meeting again in one river. Do not merely confess with your mouth, while living in contradiction to what you say. And do not merely strive with your hands, while allowing your mouth to sow discouragement. When you speak what is good, and do the small things that are right, you are laying each brick for the path where blessing will be revealed. One word of forgiveness can remove a chain from your soul. One word of gratitude can soften ground that has become dry and hardened. One word of encouragement can become a lamp for someone who is about to give up. One sincere prayer can turn your small room into a place where heaven touches earth. Whoever believes in his heart and does not doubt, but believes that what he says will happen, it will be done for him. As in Mark 11:10-23, what I seek is not a loud voice, but a heart that truly relies on me. Therefore, beloved child, when you step out of the quiet season, do not step out with a mouth still accustomed to complaining about what has passed. Step out as one who has been taught in the secret place, knowing that every word you speak must carry the fragrance of faith. Say, I am being preserved. I am being guided. I do not lack what is necessary for what the Father has called me to do. I will not use my words to curse the new season the Father is opening. Say these things not to control me, but to adjust your heart back to the truth. I have prepared the flow of provision, but I am also preparing the vessel, and that vessel is you. As your words become cleaner, your heart more spacious, and your hands more faithful, you will realize that blessing does not only come as an outward gift, but also as a river opened within your spirit. And from that river, I will make your life become a place where life, peace, and hope flow to many others, exactly as I determined beforehand through my faithful love. Beloved child, before I teach you to step deeper into the flow of provision, I want you to understand that words never stand alone. Words are like water, but your heart is the spring from which that water begins. If the spring is still mixed with the mud of bitterness, fear, and unhealed memories, then the words you speak, even if they sound strong, can still be pulled down by what you secretly believe within. Therefore, I do not only want you to learn to speak words of life. I want you to become a person who is free from the roots. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks, as in Luke 6:45. So what I am doing is not merely correcting the language on your lips, but renewing the soil within your heart. When your heart is purified, your words will become clearer. When your soul becomes lighter, your words will carry strength that lifts others. When you are no longer dragged backward by old wounds, every sentence you speak will be like a seed sown into good soil, able to produce a harvest of peace, provision, and hope. There are cycles of lack that do not begin with your wallet, your circumstances, or closed doors, but with words you have become accustomed to speaking in pain. I cannot. I am not worthy. Good things are not meant for me. I am always left behind. I hear those words not to condemn you, but to heal the place from which they were born. My child, I do not want you to use your lips to continue building walls around your own soul. I have called you to step out of the narrow place. But if you keep repeating the language of captivity, it will be difficult for your heart to recognize that the door has already opened. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. As in Romans 12:9-2, that renewal begins when you allow me to replace limiting beliefs with my truth. You are not someone defined by the past. You are not someone who is only meant to survive from day to day. You are a child loved by me, lifted by me, prepared by me. And the words you learn to speak must come into harmony with that dignity. But for new words to take root, old things must be laid down. Forgiveness is one of the quiet, yet most powerful doors I place before you. Forgiveness does not mean you call what was wrong right, nor does it mean you deny the pain that once happened. Forgiveness is when you hand the right to judge back to me, so that the one who hurt you no longer continues to rent a room in your mind. You do not forgive to make someone else's sin lighter. You forgive to make your own hands lighter. Be kind to one another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another as God in Christ forgave you. As in Ephesians 4:32, that word is not a cold command, but a path leading you out of chains. When you release, the river of grace has room to flow through. When you stop holding tightly to the wound, I can place something new in your hands, something you could not receive while your hands were still full of bitterness. I want you to remember the story of Philemon and Onesimus. A small story, yet one carrying the power of restoration. Onesimus had once been a runaway servant, carrying failure and distance with him. But then grace touched him through the ministry of Paul. When Paul wrote to Philemon, he was not merely asking for an outward forgiveness. He was inviting Philemon to see Onesimus with new eyes, no longer as a slave, but more than a slave, as a beloved brother, as in Philemon 1:16. Do you see? Grace does not only erase a debt, grace changes the way a person is seen. Forgiveness opened a path for the relationship to no longer be defined by an old wrong, but by new restoration. I am also inviting you to do this within your own heart. Do not continue to see yourself through what has been broken. Do not see others only through what they have caused. And do not see the future through the lens of a wound. When vision is renewed, my flow of provision has room to enter the places that were once closed. My child, I know that letting go is not always easy. There are memories that have clung to you for so long that you thought they were part of your identity. There are words others once spoke that fell into your heart like heavy stones, causing you to walk through many years with your head bowed low. But I am bending down with you right there in that place. I do not tear from your hands the things you are not yet strong enough to release. I place my hand upon your shoulder, teach you to breathe again in peace, and then little by little help you realize that you no longer need to carry them. Cast your burden upon the Lord and He will sustain you. As in Psalms 55:22, you can begin very gently. No loud words are needed. No perfect emotion is required. Only a sincere heart that says to me, Father, I choose not to let this rule over me any longer. In that very moment, heaven does not despise your trembling. Heaven witnesses a door of freedom beginning to open. From that freedom, your words will change. Before you may have spoken from the reflex of woundedness. Now you will learn to speak from the identity of one who is loved. Before you may have declared lack because you feared tomorrow. Now you will speak words of trust because you know I have gone before you. Before you may have called your circumstance a dead end. Now you will say that I can still make a way where there is no way. Take every thought captive to obey Christ. As in 2 Corinthians 10:5, this means you do not have to believe every thought that passes through your mind, nor do you have to speak every emotion rising within your heart. You can pause, bring them before me, and then choose which words are worthy to be sown into your future. Words born from freedom will no longer be the echo of pain, but the bell announcing that your soul is being restored. Therefore, beloved child, let me lighten your hands and widen your heart. Let me uproot the weeds of bitterness. As this awakening grows inside you, know that helping with this mission is not a joke. It is a sign from God. You can support this work through the link in the description or the pinned comment, whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our Ko-Fi community. By doing so, you become part of Jesus' plan to save souls who are still stuck in fog. Every seed turns into light that fights against darkness. If you water others, you will be watered yourself, Jesus says. This is not history, it is a living promise about your future. Come into this moment with faith and a plan. What God has already planned for your life can be unlocked through your giving. Untie the knots of false belief, and sow within you new seeds of life. Each day, choose one gracious word instead of an old word. One breath of peace instead of a hurried reaction. One act of forgiveness instead of another cycle of resentment. Then you will see the atmosphere around you begin to change. Your mind will become less heavy, your soul less dry, your eyes brighter, and the doors that once seemed far away will begin to appear in my order. The flow of heaven's provision does not only want to come to you, it wants to flow through you. And when your heart is free, your lips are healed, and your hands are opened, you will not only receive blessing as a gift, but you will also become a clean channel through which my grace, hope, and life can flow to many others. Beloved child, when your heart begins to settle, I want you to recognize that peace is not merely a gentle feeling that passes for a moment, but a holy ground within you, where I can sow new guidance into your soul. There are things I cannot speak clearly to you. When your heart is still filled with the echoes of woundedness, because old memories often cause you to mishear even words of love. Therefore, I teach you to slow down, not so you may become weaker, but so you may become discerning enough to distinguish what is my voice from what is only the sound of pain that has not yet been healed. A person's wisdom makes him slow to anger, and it is his glory to overlook an offense. As in Proverbs 19:11, do you see? Forgiveness is not defeat, nor is it allowing what was wrong to rule over you once again. Forgiveness is when you rise to a higher place, where your dignity is no longer bound to the way others have treated you. When you overlook what needs to be released, It is not because it never hurt you, but because you no longer want that pain to keep leading your future. I want you to understand that generosity of heart is itself a very deep form of wisdom. The hasty person often reacts immediately, speaks immediately, concludes immediately, and then has to carry the consequences of words spoken, while the soul was not yet at peace. But the one who knows how to remain in me will learn to pause for half a breath. Inhale grace and let me place my hand upon the fire rising within. Be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger. As in James 1:19, this is not a teaching meant to make you suppress your emotions until you become hardened, but an invitation to let my presence govern your reactions. When you do not rush to answer from woundedness, you will begin to hear the subtler signals. A pure idea arriving at the right time, an encounter that lifts your heart, a small opportunity opening from a place where you once thought nothing remained. These things are not loud, but they carry the mark of my hand, and only a calm heart can recognize them. From that calmness, I will help you take down the invisible fences that once made your mind narrow. There are words you have repeated so often that you thought they were truth, but in reality, they were only echoes from seasons of lack. You once said that you were not enough, that you could not, that you were not ready, that you were not worthy, that there was no way forward. But I did not create you to live under the low roof of those declarations. For I know the plans I have for you, plans for peace and not for disaster, to give you a future and a hope, as in Jeremiah 29:11. If my thoughts toward you are peace and hope, then do not continue nourishing self-limiting words that contradict my heart. Let your mouth learn a new language, the language of one who knows they are loved, guided, and equipped for what is good. You may begin very simply, but speak with reverence and faith. Say that you open your heart to receive the provision I give each day, not as one gambling on luck, but as a child who trusts their father. Say that you are equipped by me to steward good things with wisdom, humility, and endurance. Say that your mind is being renewed, so ideas that serve, build, and heal will come to you at the right time. Say that you no longer live according to the pattern of lack, but are learning to walk in abundance with order, purpose, and gratitude. A gentle tongue is a tree of life, as in Proverbs 15:94. Therefore, let your words become a green tree within your soul, giving shade to you and to those I place near you. Those words are not empty magic, but the agreement of your heart with the truth. I am sowing. Remember the story of Joseph, the one who was sold by his own brothers, misunderstood, imprisoned, and made to pass through years that seemed as though the promise had been buried. If Joseph had allowed bitterness to rule his words and choices, he could have lost the discernment needed for the day of his elevation. But when the appointed time came, instead of using power to take revenge, he looked at his brothers through the lens of heavenly wisdom and said, "You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good," as in Genesis 15:20. Do you see? Forgiveness did not make Joseph small. It revealed the nobility I had refined within him. It was precisely a heart not bound by resentment, that helped him become a source of rescue for many people during the famine. You are the same when you forgive. You do not only release the past, you open the way for the future. I desire to flow through you. Therefore, each morning, while the new day is still soft like dawn, place a few bright words into the foundation of your soul. Do not begin the day with sentences that drain life from you, but with holy declarations. You are being preserved. You are being taught. You are being enlarged. You are being led into goodness in its proper season. And when evening falls, before darkness settles over the weariness of the long day, return to me with gratitude. Review the words you have spoken, not to condemn yourself, but to learn how to guard the spring within. If you have spoken something heavy, bring it before me, so I may wash it clean, and teach you to sow again with words of life. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be pleasing in your sight, as in Psalm 19:14. This is a beautiful prayer for one who desires to live in the atmosphere of heaven. Then you will see that as your heart becomes wider, your words brighter, and your reactions slower in grace, the doors meant for you will not need to be forced open. What belongs to my season will open in my order. What does not belong to you will depart without making you afraid anymore. You will walk more lightly, hear more clearly, choose more wisely, and receive what is good with hands that no longer tremble because of the past. Let forgiveness become a quiet fragrance in your life. Let your words become a healing stream, and let your daily affirmations of faith become bright stones, building a new foundation. I am with you in that process, patient and full of joy, because I see ahead what you do not yet see, a life being enlarged, a soul being set free, and a season of blessing coming at the right time, in the right way under my loving guidance. Beloved child, I see that your heart is learning a new rhythm of life, one that is gentler, deeper, and brighter. You are no longer as hurried as before, no longer allowing every outside noise to pull your mind far away from the peace I have placed within you. As you patiently train your heart, guard your words, and allow me to replace old beliefs with truth, something within you begins to open like a garden after a gentle rain. There are things that once weighed heavily on your heart that no longer hold you with the same strength. There are reactions that once came out very quickly that are now being replaced by a pause holy enough for you to ask me before moving forward. That is a sign of maturity. Beloved child, may the peace of God which surpasses all understanding guard your heart and your mind, as in Philippians 4:7. That peace not only keeps you from fear, but also helps you recognize which places nourish your soul and which places quietly drain what I am cultivating within you. When I lead someone into a new season, I do not only change the circumstances before them, I also adjust the circles around them. There are connections that were once suitable for you in an old stretch of the journey, that once taught you necessary lessons, that once walked with you through a certain part of life. But not everything that was right in the previous season is appointed to continue into the next. Do not fear that change. and do not let guilt make you hold tightly to the things I am gently placing back into their proper position. Refinement is not despising anyone, nor is it closing your heart with coldness. Refinement is when you learn to love with wisdom, bless without allowing yourself to be pulled downward, to remain kind while still protecting the peace I have given you. Walk with the wise and you will become wise, as in Proverbs 13:20. That word reminds you that the atmosphere around you can either support you or dim the vision I have placed within your heart. I want you to learn how to recognize the difference between a relationship sent to nurture your soul and a relationship that only feels familiar because it has been there for so long. Not everyone who smiles at you understands your calling. Not everyone who stays near you knows how to protect the holy thing I am doing within you. There are people who will love you by lifting you up, by speaking words that cause your faith to shine again, by offering a presence that makes your heart feel lighter. But there are also people who, even without intending to harm you, continually pull you back into old patterns, more worry, more doubt, more smallness, and greater distance from peace. I am not telling you to condemn them. I am inviting you to discern. All things are lawful, but not all things are helpful. There are conversations that are not wrong, but are no longer helpful for the season ahead. There are places that are not evil, but no longer nourish the person I am calling you to become. Remember Abraham, the one I called to leave his country, his relatives, and his father's house to go to the land I would show him. That calling was not only a geographical journey, it was a separation from an old environment in order to step into a new covenant, a wider one. When he traveled with Lot, the time came for the two of them to separate, because the land could not support both of their flocks, and conflict began to arise between their servants. Abraham did not strive, did not complain, and did not hold on to Lot out of fear of lack. He spoke in a spirit of peace, saying there should be no strife between them, and then allowed Lot to choose first, as written in Genesis 13:8-9. Do you see? A person who truly trusts me to provide does not need to cling to every connection out of fear. After Lot departed, I told Abraham to lift up his eyes and look north, south, east, and west, because the land would be given to him and to his descendants. There are promises that can only be heard more clearly after you know how to release an attachment that has completed its role. Therefore, beloved child, do not be afraid when I bring you into a season of reordering. There may be relationships that are no longer as close as before, not because love has disappeared, but because the direction has changed. There may be conversations you no longer want to join, not because you have become proud, but because your spirit has learned to recognize what drains you. There may be spaces that once felt familiar, but now no longer carry peace, and you will feel me gently calling you to step out. Do this with tenderness. Do not leave with bitter words. Do not close the door with contempt. Let everything be placed back into my hands, for if it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. As in Romans 12:18. Peace does not always mean remaining as close as before. Sometimes peace means keeping your heart free from resentment, even when distance must be established so that the life within you can be protected. I am bringing near to you people who carry the breath of encouragement, people who do not need to understand every detail yet still know how to honor what I am doing within you. They may come through a timely message, an idea that opens a way, a healthy opportunity for partnership, or a simple presence that makes you feel you do not have to strain in order to be accepted. Pay attention to those atmospheres, wherever you can be truthful and still be lifted toward what is right. Wherever words make you want to pray more deeply, serve better, and walk more purely, there may be traces of my arrangement there. As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another, as in Proverbs 27:17. I did not create you to walk alone in isolation. I will place around you people who help your faith become sharper, your heart wider, and your vision no longer narrowed by fear. But as I give you new connections, you must also guard your heart against misplaced dependence. Do not turn people into the source that only I can be. The kind hands I send to you are channels, not thrones. Good opportunities are arrangements, not your identity. Words of praise may warm your heart, but they must not become the place where you seek your final worth. Your value was already established in my love before anyone ever saw you. Therefore, receive good people with gratitude, but let your roots go deep in me. When your roots are in me, you will not panic when someone leaves, nor will you become proud when someone draws near. You will love more freely, more kindly, and more wisely. Now, walk calmly through this season of refinement. Observe what makes your soul more peaceful, what pulls you back into old places, what causes your words to become brighter, and what makes your mind heavy. Choose circles that help you remember the promise, not circles that make you doubt that you are loved. Choose places where you can grow in humility, not places that nurture comparison, envy, or wariness. I am not asking you to do everything harshly. I am simply inviting you to walk in holy wisdom. Then you will see that when your heart is light, your mind is clear, your words are gracious, and the environment around you is set back into proper order. The harvest will come gently. The branches around you will seem to bend in welcome, not because you forced anything, but because you allowed me to prepare the soil. Choose the good seed, lead the healing waters, and place the right people at the right time along your journey. Keep walking, beloved child, with a peaceful smile, because I am quietly making the connections around you into resting places of encouragement and leading your life into abundance protected by wisdom, love, and grace. Beloved child, I want you to sit very still with this word, because this is a thin yet deep knot, one that can silently keep you standing outside a door I have already opened. There are people who are not as afraid of lack as they are of being entrusted with much. They have grown accustomed to living within just enough, so they will not be noticed. Accustomed to shrinking back, so they will not have to carry greater responsibility. Accustomed to thinking that abundance will draw them away from me, harden their hearts, or sweep them into things that are not pure. But my child, abundance itself does not cause your soul to lose its way. What causes you to lose your way is forgetting who your source is. If you receive without remembering me, blessing can become a burden. But if you receive with reverence and gratitude, what I place in your hands will become a healing river, flowing through you to water many dry lands. Remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you the power to get wealth. As in Deuteronomy 80:18, that word does not deny provision, but places provision back on its rightful throne. Every good thing comes from me, and every good thing must return to serve my loving will. I do not call you into abundance, so you can build a tower for your ego, nor do I enlarge your life so you can look down on others. Abundance in the hands of an unhealed heart can become noise, but abundance in the hands of a worshiping soul becomes support and uplift. Therefore, I am not only preparing resources for you, I am preparing you for the resources. I am teaching you to receive without clinging, to have without becoming proud, to steward without fear, and to give without panic. God is able to make all grace abound toward you, so that you always having all sufficiency in all things may abound in every good work, as in 2 Corinthians 9:8. Do you see? The abundance I give always carries a double rhythm, enough for you to stand steady, and overflow for you to do good works. I do not want you suffocating in lack, nor do I want you asleep in wealth. I want you awake in the role of a faithful steward. Perhaps there is still a small voice in your heart whispering, if you receive much, you will lose humility. But I ask you, beloved child, is true humility the refusal of what I give, or the receiving of it with clean hands and a bowed heart? When Peter saw the miraculous catch of fish, so great that the boats were almost sinking, he did not become arrogant. He fell down before Jesus and recognized the holiness of the one standing before him. A great blessing does not necessarily make people proud. Sometimes it makes them astonished before grace. What matters is whether you allow provision to lead you nearer to me or farther from me. Seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. As in Matthew 6:33, when the order within your heart is right, the things that are added will not take my place, but will serve what I am building through your life. I want you to learn a new language about resources, not the language of hoarding and fear, nor the language of display and arrogance, but the language of service. Tell your heart that you receive so you can care better. You have so you can give more wisely, and you are enlarged so you can become a place where others find hope. When you see money, opportunities, skills, relationships, and influence as streams entrusted to you, you will no longer fear them. Water that is trapped for too long becomes stagnant, but water flowing in the right channel brings the land back to life. The generous soul will prosper, and whoever waters others will also be watered, as in Proverbs 11:25. This is not a temptation for you to give in order to gain a selfish reward, but a law of my kingdom. What is held in love will multiply, and what is shared in faith will not run dry in the way you fear. Remember Barnabas, the one who was called the son of encouragement. In Acts 4, when the community of believers was in need, he sold a field and brought the money and laid it at the apostles' feet. Look carefully at that story. He had possessions, but possessions did not possess him. He did not allow wealth to become a private fortress, but turned it into a bridge that strengthened the body of Christ. That is why his name is not remembered as someone who merely had much, but as someone who knew how to use what he had to encourage, build up and open the way for others. Later, Barnabas also supported Paul when many people doubted him, and he walked with him in the work of mission. Do you see? A generous heart does not only share money, it shares faith, opportunity, support, and a place for others to grow. That is the image of abundance that has been sanctified. Therefore, do not let the tempter turn abundance into something frightening in your mind. He wants you either to greedily chase after it or to fearfully run away from it. Both will pull you out of freedom. I am not calling you to desire blessing more than the one who blesses, but neither do I want you to pretend to be holy by refusing what I desire to entrust to you to steward. To whom much has been given, much will be required, as in Luke 20:48. That word is not meant to make you tremble under pressure, but to remind you that enlargement always comes with maturity. When I entrust more, I also give more wisdom. When I open more doors, I also teach you more deeply how to walk. When I increase resources, I also deepen compassion, so that what comes to you will not stop with you. Now let your heart be freed from that hesitation. Speak in peace and say, I am not afraid of the good things the Father gives, because I will keep my heart close to Him. I am not afraid of resources, because I will use them to serve life. You are about to enter your divine future. Remember that this message does not end with you. People can use your breakthrough to get where they need to go through the link in the description or the pinned comment. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our Ko-Fi community, you can help this mission. By doing so, you are sowing into the awakening, deliverance, and restoration of souls who are still trapped in darkness. This is not poetry when Jesus says, "Give, and heaven will open over you." Every seed you plant turns into oil for your destiny, fire for your calling, and safety for your family. Now is your time, my child. Have faith, and as you do, watch God multiply what you let go of. I am not afraid of being enlarged, because I know my roots must grow even deeper in my presence. Begin to look at every opportunity with a holy question. Can this help me love better, serve more faithfully, and support someone more deeply? When that question becomes the compass within your heart, abundance will no longer be a wave that carries you away, but a river I use to bring life to dry places. Open your heart, beloved child. I do not give in order to draw you away from me. I give so you may know that I am a generous Father, and so that through you many others may also taste my kindness, my support, and my gentle light. Beloved child, there are movements of mine that do not come like thunder on a mountain, but like a very soft breath touching still water. The one who lacks watchfulness will overlook them, because they seem too ordinary. But the one who has learned to remain in me will recognize that before every great dawn, there are often very small signs. I do not always open a new season with a resounding trumpet. Many times I begin with an inexplicable peace, a gentle idea, just bright enough to guide the way. A prompting that makes you want to do what is more righteous than yesterday. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path, as in Psalm 119:105. That lamp does not always illuminate the entire road, but it gives enough light for the next step. Therefore, do not wait until everything is radiant before believing that I am leading you. Sometimes a thin ray of light at the edge of the sky is already my reminder that the night no longer has the right to remain forever over your life. I want you to understand that a great turning point does not always begin with a great action. There are doors that only need one very small act of obedience to begin turning on the hinges of grace. A word of gratitude instead of complaint. A decision to forgive instead of holding on to the wound. A small act of sharing instead of the fear of lack. A blessing spoken instead of a defensive reaction. These things may look simple in your eyes, but in the spiritual realm, they are seeds with the power to open a season. Who has despised the day of small things? As in Zechariah 40:10, I do not despise small things done with a great heart. People often search for greatness in crowded places, but I often place the key in quiet things where no one applauds, where only I see your heart choosing love. When you do the small thing rightly, you are realigning the direction of your soul. Just as a musical instrument, when slightly out of tune, can make the whole song lose its clarity, your soul also needs to be brought back to the proper pitch of peace. Do not underestimate the act of setting one corner of your life back in order, writing a few lines of gratitude while your heart is still weary, making a call to encourage someone who needs to be lifted up, or keeping silent when you could have spoken words that wound. These things are not meaningless. They are like small stones placed in the stream, so that step by step you can cross the waters that once made you afraid. Whoever is faithful in little will also be faithful in much. As the Lord says in Luke 16:10, I see that faithfulness, and I know when your heart is ready to carry something greater without losing its tenderness. Remember Ruth, the Moabitess woman who followed Naomi on an uncertain journey. Ruth did not step into blessing with the sound of fame, but through humble choices, staying when she could have left, loving when nothing was guaranteed, gathering the fallen grain in the field to provide for her mother-in-law. Do you see, her small act in the field of boughs was not merely a way to find food for the day. It was the place where I was quietly weaving the threads of redemption. Ruth did not know that each quiet step between the rows of grain was leading her into a story far greater than she imagined. From that simple faithfulness, I opened protection, provision, a new home, and in the end, her name was placed in the lineage that led to Christ. Therefore, do not say that your small act does not matter. In my hands, a single stalk of grain, gathered with faithfulness, can become the beginning of a spiritual inheritance. Beloved child, I also want you to recognize that even a small act of sharing can carry the fragrance of heaven. When you place something good into another person's hands, even if it is only a word of encouragement, sincere listening, or a small portion of what you have, you are declaring that you do not live under the rule of lack. Jesus said that whoever gives one of these little ones even a cup of cold water in the name of a disciple will certainly not lose their reward. As in Matthew 10:42, I do not measure love by the size of the gift, but by the purity of the heart that gives. There are cups of cool water on earth that become prayers in heaven. There are actions no one records that I keep in the book of remembrance of love. When you give with peace, you do not empty yourself. You open a flow so that life may continue to pass through you. Therefore, when you sense that the new season is drawing near, do not try to make everything loud in order to prove that you are ready. Return to the holy basics: pure speech, gratitude, kindness, open hands, peaceful breathing, and a life that knows how to listen. I do not need you to run ahead of me. I want you to walk with me. There are turns in the road that will light up when you draw near, not before. There are people who will appear at the right time, not because you tried to pull them toward you, but because I placed them on the path. There are opportunities that will find you when the inside of you has stopped resisting the very thing I desire to give. Do not grow weary while doing good, for in due season we shall reap if we do not lose heart. As in Galatians 6:79, the harvest does not forget the seed, and neither do I forget what you have sown in secret. So remain calm, beloved child. Let every small thing you do today bear the mark of faith. When you give thanks, you open the door to joy. When you bless, you cut off the stream of bitterness. When you share, you affirm that your source is me. When you choose peace, you show that your heart is no longer being dragged around by circumstances. Then you will see that, like a door needing only a small turn of the key, the things I have prepared for a long time will begin to open at the appointed moment. Not because you forced heaven, but because your heart has come into rhythm with mine. Take one more step gently, yet firmly, for I am nearer to you than you think. The branches along the road of your life are beginning to tremble beneath a new wind, and the gentle rain of grace is drawing near to refresh the places within you that were once dry. Beloved child, I want you to recognize the gentleness that is changing within you. Before, perhaps your words were heavy with worry, your thoughts tangled with fear, and the plans in your heart were like a door secured with many locks. But lately, you have begun to speak more gently, believe more deeply, and look at tomorrow with a kinder light. That is not a small change, my child. It is a sign that something within you has begun to come into harmony with what I am doing. When the soul is led by peace, words no longer rush to defend themselves. Plans are no longer born from panic, and your eyes do not need to see every detail before daring to smile. Let the peace of Christ rule in your heart, as in Colossians 3:15. When peace rules, it does not only make you less afraid, but also makes you clear enough to recognize the moment when it is time to rise. I am not calling you to leap across a deep chasm in your own strength. I am not placing a heavy command before you and then standing far away to watch. I am simply inviting you to lean your heart toward the light, like a flower turning toward the sun as a new day begins to open. There are steps I ask of you that are not loud at all, beginning something you have delayed, sharing something you have learned, writing down what I have reminded you of, naming a dream you were once afraid to admit, speaking to someone with sincerity, or placing the first brick for something I planted long ago. These actions may look small, but they carry the weight of obedience. Faith without works is dead, as in James 2:17. Therefore, the faith within you is not measured only by what you feel, but also by whether you dare to do the small thing at the right time, in the right spirit, and with the right trust. There are doors that do not open before you draw near to them. There are hallways that only become shorter when your feet begin to move. There are things you once thought were too high, too far away, too difficult. Yet in truth, they were only waiting for you to grow in the way you see. When you still stand outside the threshold with a fearful mind, the room of blessing looks like a place meant for someone else. But when I renew your heart, you will begin to understand that what I have prepared is not meant to tease your hope, but to invite you to enter in the proper season. He has made everything beautiful in its time, as in Ecclesiastes 3:11. The proper time is not always the moment when you feel most impatient, but the moment when your heart is steady enough not to lose itself in what is given. Therefore, when you feel that you are no longer pressured by the plan as before, but guided by peace, know that I am bringing you closer to the room you once only dared to look at from a distance. I want you to learn this holy rhythm. Believe, speak, and then act. Believe so your heart no longer resists the promise. Speak so your mouth agrees with truth, instead of repeating the old voice of fear. Act so that faith can take shape in daily life. If you only believe but do not speak, your heart may quietly be overwhelmed by another voice. If you only speak but do not act, your words will lack roots. If you only act but do not believe, your actions may become a burden. But when these three move together, you will see a new flow begin to open. Commit your works to the Lord, and your plans will be established. As in Proverbs 16:9-3, to commit does not mean to give up passively. To commit means to place what you do under my hand, so that your small work is joined to my greater purpose. Remember Nehemiah, the one who heard that the walls of Jerusalem were broken down, and his heart ached. As though his own home had been wounded, he did not merely weep and then leave his pain inside a prayer. He prayed, fasted, waited for the right time, and then, when the door opened before the king, he clearly spoke what he needed to ask. After that, he returned and quietly inspected the wall at night without display, without noise, but carefully observing every broken place. Then he rose and said to the people, "Come, let us rebuild the wall of Jerusalem," as in Nehemiah 2:17. And when he was mocked, he answered, "The God of heaven will make us prosper and we, his servants, will arise and build as in Nehemiah 20:20. Do you see the miracle is not only found in the prayer, but also in the moment when someone who has been awakened dares to speak what is right and begins to build what has been revealed? That story is a reminder for you today. Perhaps in your life there are also walls that have fallen. Confidence, hope, discipline, relationships, dreams, or a part of your identity that you thought had been lost. I am not telling you to rebuild everything in one day. I am only telling you to begin with the section of the wall before you. Pick up the first stone, repair one habit, write the first page, send the first word, share what you have learned with a humble heart, step into the room through one small action, instead of standing outside and imagining that you are not worthy. The Lord will perfect that which concerns you. As in Psalm 138:8, you do not complete it alone, but neither are you called to stand forever in a waiting. That is not obedience. Beloved child, when you begin to act in peace, you will see every measure become gentler. What once overwhelmed you will be divided into small steps that can be done. What once looked like a mountain will appear as a path, with each bend unfolding in its time. I do not want you to become so obsessed with the outcome that you lose the joy of the process. The baker is not afraid of each handful of flour because their hands have become familiar with patience. The sower does not dig up the soil every hour to check whether the seed has sprouted because they understand that harvests require time. You are the same. Do your part with faithfulness. Then, let me do my part in the places you cannot see. For it is God who works in you both to will and to do according to his good pleasure. As in Philippians 2:13, even the desire within you to do what is right is a trace of my grace moving. So take one more step, beloved child. Do not wait until your heart no longer trembles before you begin. Begin within my arms, and the trembling will learn to become still. Do not wait until everyone understands before you share. Speak what I have placed within you with purity and humility. Do not wait until you feel perfect before stepping into what has been quietly forming. Let today's obedience become the first embroidered thread on the robe of a new day. Then one day, very soon, you will look around and realize that you are no longer standing outside the threshold. You are already inside the room where preparation is being fulfilled, not because you pushed the door open by your own strength, but because you believed, spoke, acted, and allowed me to turn that very small key at the right time. Be at peace, for I am turning your simple steps into the entrance of a spacious season, where what you once prayed for in secret will begin to take shape beneath the light of my faithfulness. Beloved child, I know there are days when you wish you were given a very clear map, where every turn was already marked, every resting place had a name, and every waiting space had a reason, so you would not have to wonder. But today, instead of placing the map of the entire journey in your hands, I place a holy compass within your heart. That compass does not point the way through noise, nor does it lead you by pressure. It turns toward peace, toward kindness, toward what makes your soul brighter. When you choose a gentle word, instead of a harsh one, a good action instead of a hurried reaction, trust instead of control. The needle within your heart turns back in the right direction. You will show me the path of life, as in Psalm 16:11. That path does not always appear in full, but each step will become bright as you walk in my presence. Do not be afraid when you cannot yet see the whole shore, because you are not called to know every distance. You are called to hold my hand through each movement. There are times when the strength I teach you does not look like what the world imagines. The world often thinks strength must be loud, must win immediately, must grip the ropes tightly so no one can shake it. But I tell you that gentleness is also a very deep form of power. A gentle person is not weak. That person has learned to place strength under the rule of love. Please know that every seed you plant in this mission will grow into a torch that shines in someone else's darkness. Giving to this work through the link in the description or the pinned comment, whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our Ko-Fi community, does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. Heaven moves through willing voices, but it grows through hearts that are kind. This is what I say over you now. Each gift you give is like a stream of living water that flows into the life of someone who needs healing. Give, and it will be given to you is not just a verse for Jesus. It is a living promise that shapes your future. Allow me to invite you now with a simple act of faith. Come into this moment with purpose, with honesty, and with hope. The money you give today is not a donation. The act of spiritual obedience that lets your heavens open is what opens them. Let go of your seed and see what God brings back into your life. Such a person does not need to strike every edge in order to prove their presence, because a presence soaked in peace will open the way on its own. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. As in Matthew 5:5, meekness is not shrinking back in fear, but walking with a heart kept by me, not controlled by bitterness, not allowing the tempter to pull you back into battles that no longer have authority over your soul. When you let gentleness become the side of your boat, peace become the wind that lifts your sail, and kindness become your direction, you will find yourself moving far without needing to wound yourself or others. I want you to remember the story of Paul at sea, when he was being taken to Rome in the midst of a violent storm. As recorded in Acts 27, the ship was battered by the wind for many days. The sun and stars did not appear, and everyone nearly lost all hope of being saved. But in that darkness, Paul did not have a safe map in his hands. He had a promise. My angel stood beside him and told him not to be afraid, because he had to stand before Caesar, and I had also granted him the lives of those sailing with him. In the midst of the raging sea, Paul spoke a word of faith. I believe God that it will be just as he has told me. Do you see? The ship may break, but the promise does not break. The journey may change its form, but the purpose I have placed does not disappear. That is what I am teaching you. Sometimes you do not need to know every detail of the harbor. You only need to know that the one standing at the bow of the ship of your life is faithful. Therefore, when you feel that it is time to untie the final rope, still binding you to the old shore, do not see it as loss. There are ropes that once helped you remain safe in one season, but if you keep holding on to them, they will prevent you from entering the waters I have prepared. That rope may be a habit of fear, a narrow way of thinking, a need for absolute assurance before obeying, or an old memory that keeps you from daring to believe that the ocean of grace is waiting for you. By faith, Abraham obeyed when he was called to go out to the place he would receive as an inheritance, not knowing where he was going. As in Hebrews 11:8, he did not have every coordinate, but he had the calling. You are the same when I invite you to leave the old shore. I am not pushing you into emptiness. I am leading you into a spacious place your heart has been prepared to receive. And if someone reminds you of the tempter, do not look at him as a shadow that still has the authority to determine your steps. See him as an old ink stain on a page. I have continued writing with grace. The times you were tested, the pressures that once made you feel suffocated, the waves of doubt that once caused you to tremble. I have used all of them like fallen leaves beneath the roots of a tree, no longer a weight upon the branches, but nourishment for deeper roots. In all these things, we are more than conquerors through him who loved us, as in Romans 18:37. That victory does not mean you were never tired, but that what made you tired could not separate you from my love when you smiled before the thing that once made you afraid. Heaven sees a soul that has matured, no longer needing to argue with darkness, because it knows it belongs to the light. I have also placed within you a small resonance like a bell in the secret place. Every time you choose what is beautiful, that bell rings in the atmosphere around you. Not everyone will hear it with their ears, but many will sense it with their souls. They will notice that when they are near you, their hearts become less heavy. They will notice that the kindness within you softens rough paths. They will see someone who does not need to exalt themselves, yet still shines. Someone who does not need to seize space, yet still brings peace into that space. The fragrance of Christ, as in 2 Corinthians 2:15, is not only a phrase about distant holiness. It is the atmosphere of a life that has allowed me to touch, heal, and make it gentle. When you pass through a place with kindness, you do not merely pass through. You leave behind a warm trace that makes others also want to bloom with courage. My child, continue to walk like this, light yet steady, gentle yet not weak, quiet yet not lost. Do not be afraid when the journey no longer looks the way you once imagined. The ocean has its own language, and I know how to teach you to hear the sound of the water, the wind, peace, and even silence. When you stop trying to hold every measure in your own hands, you will recognize that my guidance is gentler than you once thought. One good choice today may be a thin line of light on the horizon. One blessing spoken today may become a lamp for someone else in the night. One gentle step today may open a door that rough strength could never open. The path of the righteous is like the light of dawn, shining brighter and brighter until the full day. As in Proverbs 418, therefore, keep leaning toward the light. Keep letting kindness be your compass, and keep allowing peace to lift your sail. I am with you on this boat, and the place you are going is not an aimless drifting, but a journey covered by my blessing, my wisdom, and my unchanging love. I want you to remember the story of Paul at sea, when he was being taken to Rome in the midst of a violent storm. As recorded in Acts 27, the ship was battered by the wind for many days. The sun and stars did not appear, and everyone nearly lost all hope of being saved. But in that darkness, Paul did not have a safe map in his hands. He had a promise. My angel stood beside him and told him not to be afraid, because he had to stand before Caesar. And I had also granted him the lives of those sailing with him. In the midst of the raging sea, Paul spoke a word of faith. I believe God that it will be just as he has told me. Do you see? The ship may break, but the promise does not break. The journey may change its form, but the purpose I have placed does not disappear. That is what I am teaching you. Sometimes you do not need to know every detail of the harbor. You only need to know that the one standing at the bow of the ship of your life is faithful. Therefore, when you feel that it is time to untie the final rope, still binding you to the old shore, do not see it as loss. There are ropes that once helped you remain safe in one season, but if you keep holding on to them, they will prevent you from entering the waters I have prepared. That rope may be a habit of fear, a narrow way of thinking, a need for absolute assurance before obeying, or an old memory that keeps you from daring to believe that the ocean of grace is waiting for you. By faith, Abraham obeyed when he was called to go out to the place he would receive as an inheritance, not knowing where he was going. As in Hebrews 11:8, he did not have every coordinate, but he had the calling. You are the same. When I invite you to leave the old shore, I am not pushing you into emptiness. I am leading you into a spacious place your heart has been prepared to receive. And if someone reminds you of the tempter, do not look at him as a shadow that still has the authority to determine your steps. See him as an old ink stain on a page. I have continued writing with grace. The times you were tested, the pressures that once made you feel suffocated, the waves of doubt that once caused you to tremble, I have used all of them like fallen leaves beneath the roots of a tree. No longer a weight upon the branches, but nourishment for deeper roots. In all these things, we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. As in Romans 8:37, that victory does not mean you were never tired, but that what made you tired could not separate you from my love. When you smile before the thing that once made you afraid, heaven sees a soul that has matured, no longer needing to argue with darkness, because it knows it belongs to the light. I have also placed within you a small resonance, like a bell in the secret place. Every time you choose what is beautiful, that bell rings in the atmosphere around you. Not everyone will hear it with their ears, but many will sense it with their souls. They will notice that when they are near you, their hearts become less heavy, They will notice that the kindness within you softens rough paths. They will see someone who does not need to exalt themselves, yet still shines. Someone who does not need to seize space, yet still brings peace into that space. The fragrance of Christ, as in 2 Corinthians 20:15, is not only a phrase about distant holiness. It is the atmosphere of a life that has allowed me to touch, heal, and make it gentle. When you pass through a place with kindness, you do not merely pass through. You leave behind a warm trace that makes others also want to bloom with courage. My child, continue to walk like this, light yet steady, gentle yet not weak, quiet yet not lost. Do not be afraid when the journey no longer looks the way you once imagined. The ocean has its own language, and I know how to teach you to hear the sound of the water, the wind, peace, and even silence. When you stop trying to hold every measure in your own hands, you will recognize that my guidance is gentler than you once thought. One good choice today may be a thin line of light on the horizon. One blessing spoken today may become a lamp for someone else in the night. One gentle step today may open a door that rough strength could never open. The path of the righteous is like the light of dawn, shining brighter and brighter until the full day, as in Proverbs 4:18. Therefore, keep leaning toward the light. Keep letting kindness be your compass, and keep allowing peace to lift your sail. I am with you on this boat, and the place you are going is not an aimless drifting, but a journey covered by my blessing, my wisdom, and my unchanging love. Beloved child, I want you to understand that the great doors in life do not always open because of one forceful knock, but many times they open because of a steady, humble, and loving rhythm of knocking. There are things I do not give in the noise of impatience, but in the consistent rhythm of a heart that knows how to be faithful. Today, speaking a kind word, tomorrow doing what is right, the next day, continuing to keep the heart tender before me. That repetition, which may seem small, is weaving a beautiful life before the eyes of heaven. Do not grow weary while doing good, for in due season we shall reap if we do not lose heart, as in Galatians 6:9. That word does not only speak about the final reward, but also about the beauty of every day you continue to choose to sow what is good. Even before you have seen the fullness of the harvest, I see every gentle knock of yours. I hear every unshowy prayer. I take note of every time you keep peace, instead of allowing your heart to be pulled into anxiety. And when the appointed time comes, you will know that nothing in your quiet faithfulness has been forgotten. Sometimes you may think you are only passing through very ordinary days, but under my gaze, each of those days is a holy ritual. When you wake up and choose gratitude, you have lit the lamp in your soul again. When you keep your lips gentle in a situation that could easily make you react, you have placed a bright stone into the foundation of your future. When you open your hand to help someone, encourage a heart, or forgive one more time, you are giving the river of grace a path to flow through your life. Let your speech always be gracious, seasoned with salt, as in Colossians 4:6. Therefore, do not underestimate a soft word, a pure smile, or a kind gesture. These things, may not make the world applaud immediately, but they make the atmosphere around you brighter, and many weary souls will find courage when they pass through that light. I am bringing you to a place where abundance no longer makes you afraid. You will not see abundance as something foreign, nor will you see it as a temptation to avoid, but as a stream entrusted by me, so that you may draw life from it and give life through it. When your heart is enlarged, you will know how to receive without clinging, to give without panic, and to steward without pride. God is able to make all grace abound toward you, so that you always having all sufficiency in all things may abound in every good work, as in 2 Corinthians 9:8. Do you see? The abundance I give is not only to fill your room, but so that through you other rooms may also be lit. When you have peace, you share peace. When you have wisdom, you lift others out of old paths. When you have resources, you become a compassionate hand for someone who needs a sign that they have not been forgotten. Remember the story of the widow in the time of Elisha, the woman who had only a small jar of oil left in the midst of debt and helplessness. I did not tell her to look at lack as the final sentence over her life. I told her to go and borrow empty vessels, many vessels, then close the door and pour out the oil as recorded in 2 Kings 4:7-6. The oil kept flowing until there were no empty vessels left. Beloved child, the lesson there is not only the miracle of provision, but also the preparation of the vessels. The flow of oil did not stop because my mercy had run out. It stopped when there were no more vessels to receive it. Therefore, I am enlarging you like those vessels, enlarging your faith, enlarging your capacity, enlarging your ability to love, enlarging your readiness to serve. Do not ask for a great flow of oil while still keeping a narrow soul. Let me make you into a clean, spacious, and steady vessel, so that what I pour in will not spill away in vain, but will be held, used, and multiplied in wisdom. I know there are days when you see only a little light rising on the horizon, as though night and day are quietly passing the handoff between them. But precisely at that delicate boundary, I place a gentle confirmation within your heart. Keep going. Do not change direction simply because everything has not yet become radiant. Do not doubt simply because the miracle has not yet taken its final form. You have need of endurance, so that after you have done the will of God, you may receive the promise. As in Hebrews 10:36, endurance is not standing still in despair. It is walking steadily in faith, knowing that my hand is arranging things behind what you cannot yet see. Keep your lamp burning steadily. Keep your words bright. Keep your hands open. Keep your heart from closing because of old days. The part that belongs to me, I am doing with the precision of eternal love. There are shadows of the past that will soften as the new light grows stronger. The things that once made you afraid will gradually lose their voice as you become more accustomed to hearing mine. The hallways that once seemed too long will slowly reveal themselves as passages leading to a wider courtyard. I do not need you to run. I only want you to walk in my rhythm. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. As in Psalm 119:105, that lamp is enough for today's step, and as you step forward, the light for the next step will appear. There are movements in your life that only begin when your foot comes down in faith. When you step, I move things into place. When you open your hands, I open a way. When you choose love in a small thing, I make that small thing become the doorway to a greater season. Therefore, beloved child, keep going with the gentleness I have placed within you. Do not see gentleness as weakness, because a gentle yet steadfast heart can open doors that tension could never open. Let grace walk with you as you move forward, and when you need to pause, let grace sit beside you like warm comfort. I do not leave you while you are walking, nor do I abandon you when you rest. I am the one who began the good work in you, and he who has begun a good work will complete it until the day of Christ. As in Philippians 1:6, one day very soon, you will look around and realize that you are no longer standing outside the room you once only dared to gaze upon. You have entered through the rhythm of love, through gentle words, through open hands, through faithfulness repeated day after day. And when the new season smiles with you, you will know that it was I who stood behind every door, quietly turning the key at the right time to bring you into abundance covered by peace, wisdom, and love that never runs dry. Beloved child, after you have learned to trust in the secret place, learn to speak words of life over the things your eyes have not yet seen. Now I invite you into a more mature rhythm, to live as one who has placed their heart inside the promise, no longer standing outside and looking in with wary expectation. Faith is not only a voice in the hour of prayer, faith is also the way you walk after the prayer is finished, the way you open the door in the morning, the way you set your small room back in order, the way you touch the work before you with the confidence that I am with you. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen, as in Hebrews 11:1. Therefore, do not wait until everything appears in full before allowing your heart to rejoice. Joy born from the promise is not empty imagination, but the first fragrance of the harvest drawing near. When you live in that assurance, the atmosphere around you will change. Not because you force circumstances to submit, but because your soul has stopped resisting what I am preparing. Let your morning become a small altar of receiving. When the light first touches the window, rise not as one being dragged by yesterday, but as one who knows that my mercy has arrived before you. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning, as in Lamentations 3:22-23. Open the window as though you are opening your heart to a fresh current of grace. Arrange the table, the notebook, the chair, the place where you work, the room where you live with a gentle reverence. Because the place where you are living is not merely somewhere you pass through the days. As this awakening grows inside you, know that helping with this mission is not a joke. It is a sign from God. You can support this work through the link in the description or the pinned comment, whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our Ko-Fi community. By doing so, you become part of Jesus' plan to save souls who are still stuck in fog. Every seed turns into light that fights against darkness. If you water others, you will be watered yourself, Jesus says. This is not history. It is a living promise about your future. Come into this moment with faith and a plan. What God has already planned for your life can be unlocked through your giving. It is the ground I am using to sow the seeds of the coming season. A person who truly believes that an honored guest is coming will not leave their house in old disorder. And my promise is the same. Beloved child, it does not come merely to stand outside the door of a soul that remains forever in confusion. It seeks a place that knows how to prepare with peace, receive with gratitude, and guard with watchfulness. I want you to learn how to bless the small things that serve your life each day. When you place your hand upon your desk, you may say within your heart that this place will witness wisdom, creativity, and good works being completed. When you touch the door you open, you may quietly declare that the paths belonging to me will open at the right time, and the turns not meant for you will close in peace. When you sit in the familiar chair, you may give thanks that your body is supported, your mind is renewed, and your heart is led into order. A gentle tongue is a tree of life, as in Proverbs 15:4. Therefore, do not use words only to speak to others, but use words to bring life into the spaces I have entrusted to your care. These blessings are not empty rituals, but a way for you to remind your heart that every ordinary place can become holy ground when you invite my presence there. Even the places that have not yet sent you a signal, the doors that have not yet responded, the people who have not yet answered, the plans still resting in a season of waiting, send peace there as well. Do not let their silence become a reason for you to sow anxiety within your own heart. Say that what belongs to you in my will shall find its way to you, and what does not belong to my season shall depart without breaking you. Commit your way to the Lord, trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. As in Psalm 37:5, surrender is not sitting still in worry and calling it faith. Surrender is placing what you cannot control into my hands, while you continue to keep your part in purity, preparation, and joy. Every gracious word you send out is like a small bird flying into the morning. You may not yet see it return immediately, but your sky is no longer as empty as before. Remember Joshua and the people of Israel when they stood before the Jordan River. The waters were overflowing their banks, and the promised land lay on the other side, so near that it could make the heart both eager and trembling. I did not tell them to camp forever on the shore, waiting for the waters to dry up according to the assurance of natural sight. I spoke through Joshua that the people should consecrate themselves, for tomorrow the Lord will do wonders among you, as in Joshua 3:25. Then the priests had to carry the Ark of the Covenant and step down into the water before the dry path appeared. Only when their feet touched the edge of the water did the river stop. Do you see? There are miracles that do not reveal themselves fully before you step. They open when your faith takes shape in action. Living as though you have received does not mean pretending there is no river. It means following my word, even while the water is still flowing before your eyes. Therefore, when you look in the mirror, do not look at yourself through the eyes of the seasons that made you wary. Do not search your face for traces of failure and then conclude that you are not enough. Look into those eyes as you would look at someone I have kept through many dark nights, someone who has been called by name, lifted up, taught, and prepared. You may speak slowly, not with arrogance, but with belonging. I am loved by him. I am guided by him. I am equipped, and I am ready to step into the goodness appointed for its season. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, nor be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go, as in Joshua 1:9. Those words do not turn you into someone who never trembles, but they remind you that trembling is not your master. I am the one holding your hand as you step forward. From today on, let joy be trained as a holy habit. Clothe your voice with gratitude. Let the way you walk, the way you work, the way you prepare, and the way you answer others carry the sign of one who has believed that their Father does not lie. When you write down your plans, write with the spirit of partnership with me. When you begin the thing that has been quietly forming within you, begin not as one hoping for luck, but as one laying the first stone upon a foundation I have already measured. When delay comes, let it teach you patience. Do not let it steal your joy. Whatever things you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received them, and they will be yours, as in Mark 11:24. This word does not teach you to control me, according to your own will, but to place your heart in my faithfulness, after you have prayed in obedience. Beloved child, you are not merely repeating a few beautiful sentences, you are allowing your life to sign its name to a reality I have prepared in love. When you open the door, I open the way. When you make room, I bring order. When you bless the small thing, I make that small thing become a vessel for something greater. When you step outside with eyes of trust, the new season is no longer a distant idea, but begins to become the rhythm of life in each of your actions. Keep living as one who has been embraced by the promise. Not hurried, not artificial, not arrogant, but joyful, pure and steady. For what I have entrusted is not coming only so you may see it. It is coming so you may step into it, care for it, use it, and share it. And as you walk in that rhythm, you will realize that the promise is not only moving toward you, I am also leading you toward the promise, step by step, beneath the gentle light of grace that never runs dry. Beloved child, there are callings that do not sound outwardly like a human voice, but burn quietly within your heart through many seasons. Through the nights when you thought you were only waiting, through the days when you kept walking, even though you had not yet seen the full shape of what I promised. Today, I am not merely reminding you to hear that calling again. I am inviting you to stand within it. For there is a great difference between a person who only knows they are called and a person who begins to live as one who has been called. I did not place that longing within you so it would remain forever like a forgotten seed in storage. I breathe purpose into it. And now, after your heart has been trained through waiting, through silence, and through the lessons of faith, I want you to rise as one whose name has been called before me. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you before you came forth from the womb. I set you apart, as in Jeremiah 105. This means your life did not begin by accident, and your direction is not determined by fear or by the judgment of others, but by the loving intention I placed upon you before you fully understood yourself. Therefore, your declaration in this moment is not a voice meant to boast, nor is it a way for you to try to convince the world to recognize you. That declaration is a marker before me, a seal in the spirit, a moment when you stop standing halfway between belief and hesitation. Speak with humility, yet with firmness, that you belong to what I have called you to step into, that you will no longer hide behind the old smallness, that you will no longer delay simply because you have not yet seen every detail. The righteous shall live by faith, as in Habakkuk 2:4. That faith does not exist only in your thoughts, but must take shape in your words, in your steps, and in the way you receive the new day. When you declare that you are willing to receive the portion I have prepared for you, you are not giving commands to heaven. You are simply bringing your heart into alignment with what I have spoken. And when your heart is aligned, many things that once seemed scattered will begin to find their proper place in my timing. Imagine that you are standing before a great door, not with hands trembling in fear, but with a heart that has passed through enough lessons to understand that I have not led you here in vain. For a long time, you have heard something like an echo from behind that door, the sound of opportunity, the sound of service, the sound of a wider land, where you no longer live merely to survive, but to carry the light that has been entrusted to you. The key in your hand is not made of metal. It is made of faith, obedience, gratitude, and readiness. When you turn that key, it is not a small movement in ordinary life, but the response of your soul to my invitation. I have set before you an open door, and no one can shut it. As in Revelation 3:8, if I have opened it, you do not need to stand outside for too long wondering whether you are worthy. You only need to enter with reverence, knowing that everything beyond that door must be received with humility and guarded with love. I want you to remember Samuel when he was still a child in the temple in the stillness of the night, when my voice called out, and at first he did not recognize it. 3 times he ran to Eli because he thought a human voice was calling him, until he was taught to answer, "Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening," as in 1 Samuel 3:9-10. Do you see? A holy calling often needs a soul that learns to listen through many moments of confusion. But when Samuel learned to respond to the one who was truly calling, his life was no longer only the life of a child serving in the temple. It became the journey of a prophet whom I used to speak the word of heaven to the people. You are the same. Perhaps before now you have misunderstood a few signs, searched for answers in places that were not deep enough, and wondered why your heart kept being awakened. But today you know where that calling comes from, and when you respond, I will teach you to step into your role little by little, not hastily, but surely, beloved child. The fact that you have remained until this point in the journey is not a small thing. Many people hear only a portion and then leave, see a little light and then return to familiar darkness, sense the calling and then allow distraction to make it fade. But you have remained, you have listened, and you have allowed my word to touch the deeper layers of your heart. That remaining is a quiet evidence of readiness, not because you have become perfect, but because you have learned not to run away from the process. Abide in me and I will abide in you, as in John 15:34. The one who knows how to abide will bear fruit in its proper season, because the branch does not create life by itself, but receives life from the vine. I see your perseverance. I see the times you thought you were moving slowly, yet still did not turn away. I see the times you were weak, yet still wanted to believe. And I tell you that faith like this does not lie still in death. It moves like water, finding its way through stone, through soil, through valleys, until it reaches the place I have prepared. Now do not keep this merely as a beautiful feeling within your heart. Let it become a true turning point in the way you live. When the new day comes, walk as one who has heard their Father call them by name. When you speak, speak as one who knows their words are being sown into the future. When you work, work as one who is partnering with me and what is good. When you encounter a door that is still closed, do not quickly fall into despair. Ask me which key needs to be used: patience, wisdom, preparation, or one small courageous action. Be strong and courageous, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. As in Joshua 109, courage does not mean you no longer tremble. Courage means you still step forward, because you know my hand is holding you. You are about to enter your divine future. Remember that this message does not end with you. People can use your breakthrough to get where they need to go through the link in the description or the pinned comment. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our Ko-Fi community, you can help this mission. By doing so, you are sowing into the awakening, deliverance, and restoration of souls who are still trapped in darkness. This is not poetry when Jesus says, "Give, and heaven will open over you." Every seed you plant turns into oil for your destiny, fire for your calling, and safety for your family. Now is your time, my child. Have faith, and as you do, watch God multiply what you let go of. Therefore, beloved child, mark this day in your heart, not with outward display, but with a deep agreement with me. Say in the secret place that you are willing to step into the portion that has been prepared, willing to be shaped so you can hold what is entrusted to you, willing for your life to become a place through which grace can flow. When your faith sets its foot down, I will open paths you do not yet know how to name. When you dare to cross the threshold, the atmosphere of the new season will touch your soul like the fragrance of earth after the rain. And then you will understand that all the years of listening, learning, waiting, weeping, believing, and standing firm were not wasted. They have brought you to this very moment, where you are no longer merely looking at the promise from afar, but beginning to step into it with a prepared heart, open hands, and eyes that know I have gone before you long ago.